Confident that our local MLAs are hearing that message from the city and relaying that to Edmonton in an effort to make sure that it's heard in.
We meet regularly with our MLAs as well as with ministers in government. So our MLAs are well briefed in terms of what the needs are. Red Deer, as we've matured more as a city, obviously as the third largest city, we've also noticed a shift in terms of how we advocate to the provincial government and in our relationship not just with the provincial government but with the federal government as well. We do find now that the ministers have made themselves accessible to us. They've recognized that we're the third largest city, and they are briefed in terms of Red Deer's opportunities and challenges. One of the most significant challenges that we continue to be faced with, though, on that front is that we are the largest of the mid-sized cities, and our positioning on the hub actually puts us more on par with issues that Edmonton and Calgary are faced with, albeit on a smaller scale. But Edmonton and Calgary are charter cities. And so because they're charter cities, they have rights and privileges before the provincial government that we don't. So not only are we in a position where, you know, we're competing for population and development sometimes with neighboring municipalities, you know, in our region, but also where we're at times at competitive disadvantage to Edmonton and Calgary. So we do have a little bit of a perfect storm, but I feel confident that the more we raise that concern before the provincial government, my hope and projection is that sometime in the future, Red Deer will need to be a charter city as well.
Is there a middle ground that can be found? Like, obviously we're still quite a bit smaller than Calgary and Edmonton, but bigger than a lot of other places throughout Alberta. Do you think that there is a solution for places the size of maybe Red Deer, Lethbridge, Grand Prairie, that kind of thing?
I think what we've started to see in the provincial landscape is that there's any number of different types of municipalities. There's a full spectrum. But I think we're starting to see a different role for the regional hub cities. And there are a few of them in the province. I think our citizens want quality services and they want them delivered in a financially affordable manner. And so I think that it is incumbent upon governments to work more closely with each other in terms of delivering services together and not being in competition with each other. And so I think that is the sauce. People who live in Red Deer want to live in Red Deer because of the size of community it is. We have all the amenities of a modern urban center, but we still have a small town community feel. And so as we grow and as we develop and move forward, Red Deerians want us to progress and have more offerings for them in terms of what we have to offer as a community and services available. But they don't want to lose all that makes us great because we are smaller than in Edmonton and Calgary as well. So there is a fine balance to be had. You're right in that.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing you do have going for you is that amongst the other local communities, some pretty good working relationships there, so some potential opportunities moving forward.
You know, I will say one thing that we're very grateful for, you know, and as council, as we represent Red Deerians throughout the province, sometimes, you know, you take for granted what you have. And I think it's become very evident that we have a highly productive, respectful relationship with neighboring municipalities like no other. And I actually think that that's key to some of the successes that we've experienced. You know, when you look at us receiving funding for the airport or the QE2 interchange or the Canada Winter Games or, you know, any one of those great initiatives, a lot of times those adjudicators have identified the fact that we work together as municipalities instead of competing with each other as part of our success.
Sticking with that regional theme, I know you're obviously aware of the local push from the Health Foundation and local doctors to bring improved cardiac care services to Red Deer Regional Hospital. And I know you've talked a little bit about that, but obviously you're lending your support to that movement in hopes of bringing improved healthcare services to Red Deer in this region.
So there is, I have meetings planned in early January in terms of meeting both with the Hospital Foundation as well as with Alberta Health Services and key people in the community in terms of around health advocacy in general for Red Deer. Our council hasn't yet adopted official position, but I fully anticipate early in 2017 that we will be doing so. And really, when you look at the full spectrum of health services, there are any number of health services that we are seeking for Red Deer. again, in recognition of the fact that as the third largest city in the regional hub, we need to close the service level differential that often occurs with services between Red Deer and major urban centers like Edmonton and Calgary. So among that, of course, is Cath Lab, because that's obviously the priority for the foundation. There's other health services that we need expansion to as well, around particularly Cath Lab, the need for detox, the need for shelter space, and some of those vulnerable supports as well are on that list, and I fully anticipate that that list will expand as well.
Circling back a little bit to Riverlands, I know we're not going to see a lot actually happen in terms of 2017, but it's pretty exciting to have a unique opportunity to redevelop, what, literally a third of your downtown area and hit the reset button for the future.
You know, Riverlands really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's very rare that a municipality has the opportunity to redevelop their riverfront where the city owns most of the land on behalf of the public. So it really is an incredible opportunity. We will see progress. You know, most of the progress that we've made today around you know, a plan or the roadway access or the burial of the power lines, they're not necessarily things that the public is receiving benefit from yet. This year, however, we will see the beginning of construction of the boardwalk, which is part of the major connection on the Trans-Canada Trail and on the major boardwalk, as well as the public amenity around the square. So we will start to see that vision come to pass in terms of some of those key public amenity spaces, which hopefully will spur on private sector development. One of the most critical components of the plan actually being in place now means that we can actually put the lands to market. So for years, the development community has said, well, when are those lands going to be ready? But until we actually had zoning in place, that we weren't able to market those lands. So the public has had a vision for 20 years. The public's made investment in terms of railway relocation, civic yards relocation, some of the core infrastructure there, and so now the public will start to see that return on investment as we market those lands and hopefully see private sector development there.
So obviously, as we look a couple of years down the road, the next big event, the biggest this city will have ever seen, the 2019 Canada Winter Games, and we're already seeing the benefits from that. Harris Centre, Downtown Arena, Great Chief Park. It seems like such a long time away, but it really isn't, and a lot of really good things are happening right now.
You know, honestly, the moment, when I think back to the moment that Red Deer won the 2019 Canada Winter Games, obviously it was a really exciting moment for Red Deer. The community really did rally. I know that we won it because of our community spirit. The Canada Games Council has made that very clear. But what we didn't know the day that we won it was the fact that we would be heading into a new economic normal like we haven't experienced in recent history. So what the Games has meant for us during a time where we needed it the most was that infrastructure investment that would have went to another city in Alberta from the provincial and federal government is actually coming to Red Deer. So because of that money, we actually have seen the catalyst of the new project up at the college, which is essential to their future. Not just as a recreation center, of course, but as well the Center for Health, Wellness and Sport, and their programming expansion and their future as a polytechnic university. But we're also seeing projects like Great Chief Park and redevelopment of Riverbend, projects that were on the city books, but that we couldn't necessarily afford to proceed with until that money came to us. The other thing that it's doing is it's actually serving as a catalyst for other projects that we wouldn't have gotten, the QE2 interchange, the airport, and the latest project, which is saving the Heritage Building for the Canada Winter Games headquarters, which otherwise that building would have been cost prohibitive to save. It probably would have been demolished, and so that money would have been thrown good money after bad. But because of the Public School Board and the Canada Games, it means that we've actually can save that heritage building and revitalize downtown. And so you're right, it's not that far out, but these next 2 years of preparation are essential so that we're more than ready when we welcome 20,000 people in 2019.